Hello everyone, and thank you for attending this session on how we're going to build an app within less than an hour actually. So first of all, let me thank you for attending this session, and let's start. So basically, as brief before, the main objective of this demo is to show you how fast it is that how we can create an app from scratch to handle your business needs, and how easy for like a non-technical user to use the simple drag and drop functionality and the low-code platform to create these apps and publish it and make it available for their employees. Um, like the app that we're going to create today basically is going to be a simple app that allows employees to submit a vacation request and get it approved by their manager. So let me get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is let me show you how you can access the Power App platform. So basically what you have to do is to go to any browser and write powerapps.microsoft.com. That will take us to the main page for the Power App platform. Basically for Power Apps you will need an Office 365 subscription because Power Apps is a part of the Microsoft Office 365, so it can be like an add-on on it. So the first thing you need to do is to have a 365. Then in order to access, you have to sign in. If you don't have already a subscription, there you can just click like go and try it for free. You'll get a trial version for 1 month, so you can try the Power Apps and see how it can be benefit for your business. So let's go ahead and sign in. So this is the main platform. So as you can see, I logged in directly because I'm logging in before, so I can get my account. But usually what happens is that, for example, I'm signing out here, and it's asking me for my credentials, like Microsoft credentials. And if I sign in here, I'll put my credentials, and I will be right away going to the Power App main page. So let me take you through a little bit about what are the main components of the Power Apps or Power Platform, and then we can go ahead and start creating our application. So basically, as you can see in Power Apps, you have the ability to start creating your app directly from the data source. So you can select like SharePoint, Excel, SQL, Common Data Services, or any other data source that you might require. There are over 300 different connectors that you can have connections in order for you to use it on your app. Also, you can create your app from a blank app. So you can create a Canvas app from like blank. It's gonna be like an empty project, so you can do everything from scratch. Also, you can view all the applications or the apps that you have created previously. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to create a Canvas app from blank, just to show you, like, this is gonna cover most of the cases that we have. So creating a Canvas app, the first thing I have to give it a name. So I'm going to try and give it a, let's say, vacation request app. Okay, and then I have the ability to select between two different formats, which is like a tablet layout or a phone layout. So I'll go ahead and select tablet layout just to have the benefit of a bigger screen for my application, and go ahead and click create. Once I do that, you'll see that our platform is getting everything ready for me and setting up everything. And as you notice, I'm not required to install any application or any IDE on my computer. Everything here is running on the cloud. Everything is web based. I don't need to install anything, any add-ons or any application in order to be able to design my app. So basically, after creating the app, this is the main screen that you end up with. So let me just take you through a little bit about the main components here. So as you can see here on the left side, we have the tree view, which shows us all of the screens that we have in our application, and we have the ability to create new screens. Here we have the ability to add new components by drag and drop. Here we set our data and data connections, and this area where we define our media and like videos, audios, or images. And here, this is like some advanced tool for monitoring and testing. Going to the top side, which shows you like home, where you can create new screens and control the look and feel, like changing font and changing the size of the font or the colors of it. And the insert will allow you to insert some components into your application. The view will help you define the views that you want to use, and actions in order to want to, for example, to do some actions related to your apps. Then this is the bar where we call the function bar. So here you define the actions or the methods that runs for your application, or you can control the properties that are in your application for the component basically of your application. And on the right side here you have the properties section, which shows you properties about the component that you selected here. And at the end, this is the main section where you are going to add your component here and modify it and do everything about it. So the first thing here, as you can see on the right side here, we started by having a predefined screen, which is a blank screen. It's asking me either to add an item or to connect to data. So the first thing I'm going to do is to connect to data, and in this case my data is going to be a list inside SharePoint Online. So basically this is the list that contains my data and where I'm going to read and write my data to. So as you can see, this is a SharePoint list for vacation request. It consists of the following columns: the employee name, employee email, the leave type, start to the vacation start and end date, and the number of days, and approval status, and who is the approval, and the approval comments that we have. Basically what we can do also, like this is another way to create an app, you can directly from SharePoint click on Power Apps and create app in case you wanted to start the creation of the app directly from here. But as we have started already by creating it from blank, we have to do it from the Power App itself. So what we need to do now, the first thing we need to do is to set up the connection to the data source. So the first thing, we go here to the data and go to connectors, and I'm going to select SharePoint. Okay, so you have these connectors by default, but as I told you, we have more than 300 different connectors to different types of data connectivity. So imagine you wanted to connect your data to an SQL database, to an ERP, to, for instance, any other third-party kind of application. You can do that very easy. So I'm looking here for SharePoint, and I'm going to select SharePoint from here. So it's asking me to have a new connection to SharePoint, and because I had already created some connections before, it's showing me the history of it, but I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. So click on add a new connection. It's asking me whether this SharePoint it's a cloud base, which is part of 365, or you're connecting to an on-premises kind of SharePoint. So in our case, we are going to connect to a cloud base and connect. Then it will start by asking me to provide the URL or the information about the site that I'm trying to connect to. So basically here it's asking me to have the link for my SharePoint, so I'm going to go here, select my SharePoint site, and go here and click, write it and connect. So it's gonna connect and it's gonna bring all of the lists or document libraries that I have which I'm able to connect to. So I'm going to select vacation request and then click connect. And that's it. Now we have established a connection between our app and the SharePoint in order to use it in our application. So basically this is the first point, and also I'm going to connect also to the Office 365 users, which we are going to use it later on to retrieve some profile information like the display name and the email. I'm going to show it to you later on in this presentation. So let's go ahead and start creating our application. So as we agreed in the first, our application is going to be used for submitting vacation request and get it approved by the manager. So what we need to do is we need to create the screens that are going to handle this. So the first screen in this case is going to be the landing screen, let's say, or landing screen, which is going to run the first thing once you run the application. So what we're going to do is we're gonna add some media. Let's say I'm going to upload my logo here. So I'm going to go to my desktop, for instance. I'm going to look for SquareOne logo, for example. Let's say this is it, and I have uploaded the content here. I can just easily drag and drop this logo so I can use it in my application. So as you can see, I make it a little bit bigger, so I'm putting it here. As you can see, this is a drag and a drop kind of action that I have taken. What else I needed to do? I'm going to have two buttons actually, or two buttons. Yeah, here is it. This is the first button. I'm going to call it submit new request, for example, and I'm going to copy it and have another button. I'm going to call it view my pending approvals, for instance. So what is the main objective for these two buttons? This one, we wanted that whenever we click on it, it's gonna open for me a new form so I can submit my request. And the second one here, it's going to be used to view all of my pending requests and get it approved. Let me have here also like a label, just a drag and drop labels. So I'm going to call it, this is the vacation request app. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, and I'm going to make it bold with the size of 36, and I'm going to put it like in the middle here and center. So this is how I created the first screen. Now let's go ahead and create the second screen, which is going to be used as the screen for the form that the user is going to use to submit their data. So I'm going to go to new screen and select a blank screen, and I'm going to call it let's say new request screen, and that's it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it, for example, let's say a rectangle here. I'm going to put it on the top like this, just to make it look like it's like another window in the application. And I'm going to put a label with a white color so it can look good on it. I'm going to call it new request, and I'm going to put this like in the middle of the application and make it a little bit bigger and bolder. So we have created this. Now I'm going to start the actual creation of my form. So you remember the data source that we have created here, the vacation request. So what we needed to do right now is to go to here and, go to insert and select forms. And from forms, I'm going to select the option edit. And once I added this form component, I'm going to make it like in the full size of the window, and from here I'm going to go to the data sources and just select vacation request. And yeah, that's it. Now we have created a form that will allow me to submit a new request just by getting a new form, drag and drop, and I have all of the fields that were in my SharePoint list here. It's automatically created fields to it, and as you can see with the name and the title of each and every one. So you know what, I'm going to do some modifications. As you can see here, that the title of this field, which is supposed to be employee name, it's mentioned as title, so I'm going to change it to employee name instantly. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to give it a new name, like employee name in this case. Okay, and for example, this is a little bit big, so I'm going to make it smaller, for instance. And that's it. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a button here that I'm going to use to allow the user to click for submit. So I'm going to call it here submit. And what I have to do is to write a small piece of formula telling the system that whenever this button is clicked, go ahead and submit the content in this form. So what I'm going to do basically is to click here, submit form, and yeah, and then I'm going to open this and select which form I want to submit. So that's it. Now we have created ourselves a form with the ability to submit the form to the SharePoint list. So what will happen now? How I am going to try testing the application, or how I start to know if my application is actually working or not. So you have two ways. So basically what you can do is by holding the Alt button, you can see the application running in front of you even from inside the Power App Designer. So as you can see here, I can just go ahead, select items, select the dates, and do everything. Even more, I can go ahead and attach some files, and I can do everything right away from here. Or I can go ahead and click the preview the app button or hit the F5 key. So what will happen is it's going to run the application for me, and basically it's showing here no item to display. I'm going to show you why this right now. So what I have to do here, you remember when we put the form and we put it in the edit mode, what we need to do is actually to set the default mode for this screen or this form to be new instead. So in this case it will like initiate a new form, not in the new mode, not in the edit mode. So once we go ahead and run the form, you will see the form in the new mode. So I'm going ahead and start inserting some data. So I'm going to say here employee name Firas and Firas at SquareOne, for example. And as you can see, I can select the leave type, which is automatically being retrieved from the SharePoint list I have, and I can select the starting date of my vacation and the end date of my vacation. And as you can see, the number of days I have to put it manually, so I can put anything, and I can go ahead and put this approval status as submitted, for example, and approval I'm going to select myself in this case for, and approval comments, some other comments I wanted to have, and I can have any attachment. So I click on the submit button, you will see that if I go back to my SharePoint list and refresh it, you will find that a new record has been created. Here is it, and contains all of the data that I have created in my app. But basically, you know what, the problem here is it's providing like a not completed scenario. Here in this case, I am being able to insert any name with any emails. I can select the approval status. I can do everything. So we need to have a little bit control on this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna tell the application to automatically retrieve the employee name from the logged in profile. So as you can see here, I'm logging in as my name. So I'm gonna tell it to go ahead and use the connection that we have established before with the Office 365. So I'm going to tell it Office 365 users dot my profile. Then I'm going to tell it to get my display name. So once I put this on the default, this means that whenever the application is going to run, this title or this formula is going to run retrieving my display name. So what I'm going to say here, I'm going to also make this field or this text here, I'm going to make it in display mode. I'm going to say that this is gonna be in the view mode only, so no one will be able to change it. The same thing we can do for the employee email. So we're gonna go ahead to the default, and first of all, as you can see, we need to unlock the changes for the properties. So we go ahead and change this to Office 365 users, and I'm going to select this, then my profile, then dot mail, and that's it. Yeah, and we're gonna do the same here, telling it that this field is a what is it? Is in the view mode only, so we're gonna give it here like in the view mode. The second thing also, as you can see here in the approval status, we're gonna make it to be by default set to submitted. So every time this form is created, it's gonna have the value submitted. And then we're gonna remove the approval comments because here it's not required at this stage, and that's it. So if we go ahead and run our application again, yes, I think here we need to initiate the form again. So I'm gonna create a new form. I should have done this actually before, so it will allow the user to create a new, to initiate a new form basically. So basically what will happen now, so for example, whenever you submit the form, now it's going to initiate a new form directly after you submit the form. So let's go ahead and run. As you can see, employee name now is automatically retrieved, employee email is automatically retrieved, and the approval status is automatically retrieved. The same here, we have to make this in the visible mode only. So I'm going to select here right away and go to the visibility of it and make it view only. Okay, so as you can see, this is the form and the way that we have created it. Now let's take this further a little bit, and I wanted that whenever I select the starting date and the ending date, I wanted to automatically calculate the number of days here. So in this case, I want to make a calculation to have the differences between the from, to, and have a number of days automatically retrieved here, rather than allowing the user to manually put the number of days here, which he can by mistake put it in a wrong way. So what we need to do here is we're gonna go here and definitely we have to unlock the changes here, and we're gonna start by telling it date difference. Okay, and it's gonna ask me to select which date you want it to start, so I'm going to go and tell it, and I'm going to take this field which is data card value of 4 and data card value of 5. So I'm going to, it's between data card value 5 and data card value 4. So I'm going here again and going to data card value 5 dot selected date, and I'm going to take the same actually, but instead of 5 I'm going to move here to 4, and yeah, that's it. So as you can see here, I think I have to change it a little bit. This one should be 4, this one should be 5. As you can see, the result is the card value and the card. Okay. Yeah, and that's it. So once we run our application again, you'll find that it will be automatically calculating the number of days. If I change this to 30, for instance, you will see that the number of days is automatically created. So what we need to do finally is to make this as visible only, like in the visible mode only. So what we're gonna do, the same, remove this and go ahead and click the display mode to be view only. And that's it. This is how we created the new request form. So if we go ahead and run it again, and you'll be able to see all of this information, and I'm going to select like casual, and I'm going to select the number of days to be in 6 days, for example, and the submit stat is going to be this, and I'm going to select the approval to be Firas in this case, just for testing purposes, and I can have any attachment I want, and click on the submit, and that's it. One last thing we can do is to have like a notification whenever the form is submitted, so we know that the form have been submitted successfully. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead here and we're gonna tell it that whenever that after creating these two commands, go ahead and notify. We're gonna use the notify function, and we're gonna tell it that the request is submitted, and the second thing that we're gonna give it, that this is gonna be a notification with a success message. Then it's going to, we're gonna put like keep this message showing for 2 seconds, and that's it. Yeah, if we go ahead again now and run our application, and let's submit a casual leave from these days to these days. In this case, let's make it 25th. Okay, and the approval is going to be Firas. As you can see, everything in place now, and submit. You'll see that I'm getting the request is submitted. So before we go to the next one, we needed something to allow us to go back to the main page. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have like a shape, like a button. So we're gonna use like a back arrow here, and we're gonna give it white color. I'm gonna put it in the middle, make it a little bit big, and we're gonna tell it that, you know what, I'm going to take this to the back, and I'm going to say that whenever this one is selected, I want you to navigate to the landing screen. And also we have to select the transitions. I'm going to select this one, and that's it. Yeah, now if I go ahead and try it, you'll go to the first landing page, and here we're gonna also tell this button to go to navigate to the new request field, and we're gonna tell it to go with the cover because this one is going forward and that one's going backward. And that's it. If we go ahead and run our application again, submit a new request, you'll find the form ready for you, and you can select the date and everything, and you can click on the submit button, and you can click back here to go back to the landing page of your application. So that's it for the creating a new request. And now we should start working on the how the manager is going to approve the request whenever he wants to, whenever he gets a new request for approval. So doing that, we need to create a new screen for the approvals. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna do the same thing. Gonna click here, a new screen, and a blank screen, and we're gonna call it up, or press say request approval. So the main concept here for this screen is to show all of the pending requests that are pending on my approval or anyone's approvals, and when you click on one of the items, it should show you the details of the request, the submitted request, and give you the ability to approve it or reject it, and submit any feedback or any comments that you want. So in order to do that, I'm going to come back to this and take like a copy of this bar so I can like use it again here, and also I'm taking this one, and taking this as well. And here is approval. And what I'm going to do here, the screen is going to be split into two main sections. The left section is going to show the list of all of the pending approvals, and the right section is going to show the details of each selected item. So in order to do that, we are going to start by adding something called gallery. So it is a vertical gallery. You can get it from the layout, and we can go to vertical gallery. Actually, the vertical gallery is supposed to fetch out some data from any data source that you define, and you can define the way how you wanted the data to be displayed in this gallery, and you can control like the layout of it, and even you can filter it to match your business requirements. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna connect this gallery to our data source that we have set previously, which is the vacation request list in the SharePoint site. So we're gonna select it like this, and yep, it brings all of the data, and you will see it right in front of you. So this is one of the coolest features in Power Apps, that what you see is what you get actually. So whatever changes you are doing here, it's automatically reflecting in front of you. So we need to tweak this a little bit. So let's go here and change the display layout of it. So we're gonna say, so it's selected as image, title, and subtitle. So I'm going to make it title, subtitle, and body. And I'm going to show here, for example, instead of let's say we can go to the whole list, and I'm going to select the field that I want to show. So here showing title, then employee email. Instead of employee email, I want to show the start date of the vacation itself. It's gonna give me like a better display of my pending leaves. So I'm going to select from date, for instance. Where is from date? From date, here is it. Okay, and that's it. So now, as you can see, it's showing the name of the employee, the date of the leave, and the type of the vacation. So what I'm going to do here, I want to make this a little bit smaller, and I'm taking this like here. As you can see, any change I'm doing, it's automatically reflected, and I'm going to make this smaller like this. Okay, so now if we take this and we run our application, you'll find a list of all of the vacation requests that are in my vacation list. So but I have to change this now to make it show only the requests that are pending on my approval and the request that the current status of it is submitted. So it's not either approved or rejected. So in order to do that, we can just easily go to the advanced option here and go to the filter here to the items. So here I'm going to type a filter function so I can filter the items that I'm retrieving in this gallery. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and start typing my filter command. So what I'm going to type, filter, and the source for this one is going to be our list, which we call it vacation request. As you can see, everything is automatically completed, and the logical test that we are introducing here is that I wanted the approver email, for instance, approver.email to be equal to the Office 365 users, to the current user that I'm logged in. So as to get that, we're gonna get current user that current, or I'm sorry, that my profile, and dot mail. So we're using the email here as the unique identifier for the user profile. Also, I want the logical test to include that the approval status equals to submitted. So it's gonna bring only the items that have the status submitted and it's pending on my approval. So now I just click this and enter, and it should be working fine. Now it's bringing all of the requests that are pending on my approval and the status of it is submitted. So now what we needed to do is that whenever, let's give it a little bit try. Okay, it's working fine. It's showing everything. So what I want now is that whenever I click on any of these items, I should be able to see it in this area. So I'm going to go to here and click from the popular, and I'm going to insert a in this case, insert from here. I'm going to select forms, and this time I'm going to select display because I want to view data in the read-only mode. I don't want to be able to edit it at this particular area. So I'm going to select here, and I'm going to go the same concept, select our data source that we have, which is the vacation request, and yeah, it's bringing everything here. So I have all of the data in front of me right now. I can go here and like select the as we have done before. We can change some of the items here. I'm going to change this to employee name, for instance, and I'm going to remove the approver comments, for instance. I don't read it, and also I'm going to yeah, that's it. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, and I'm going to tell it that I want you to show, so I can go to the advanced option here and go to item. So in order to show the selected item, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to item and tell it to show only the items that is selected in the gallery. So I'm going to say gallery 1 dot selected. This is going to make sure that it's going to retrieve the items that is selected on the gallery on the left side. So this is like, you can consider it a way to filter the display view to show only the selected items. So it's by default going to be selecting the last or the first one. It depends on the filtering of it. And as you can see, it starts bringing some data. So let's like adjust the size here a little bit, just to make it a little bit more clear and to get to utilize the space a little bit more. I'm going to extend this like this. This is fine. So basically now, if I run my application, as long as I click on a different request, you'll see that the data on the display on the right side is changing. Okay, so now what we needed to do also in order to take action now to do the approval. So now we have reached to the point where we are seeing our requests and we are seeing the details of each request. What I want to do now is I'm going to add a text input to allow the manager who's taking the approval to put his comments on it. And I will add 2 buttons actually. So the first button is going to be for the approval, and the second, let's make it a little bit bigger. And the second one is going to be for reject. So I'm going to call this approve, and I'm going to call this reject. And you know, in terms of making it a little bit more user friendly, I'm going to change the colors here. So I'm going to give the reject button a nice red color. So here I'm selecting this one, and for the approve I'm going to give it like a green color. So it's gonna be like easier for the manager to know that they're selecting approve or reject. Okay, so now we need to connect all of these together in order to perform our action. So what we need to do here is we want that whenever we click on the approve button to submit the form, but in this case we're not submitting the whole data, we're submitting only changing the approval status, and we're adding the comments of the approval. So in this case we are going to use another command. So as you can see on select, we are adding another command, which is patch. Patch will enable you to update some content in a certain data source based on like parameters that you can define. So in this case we are going to pass 2 parameters. We're going to pass the approval status, we're going to make it approved, and we're going to pass the approval comments as well. So what we are going to do here, first of all, we have to define the data source. As you can see, you can track it from here. So you can see patch, it requires source, record, update, and some extra data. So what we are going to pass, first of all, vacation request. So here is it. This is our data source. Then we need to identify the record that we are updating in this particular data source. So in order to identify the record, we can do that from the selected item inside the gallery. So we're gonna say gallery 1, gallery 1 dot selected, and then we are going to identify the update statement for our request. So here I'm putting like I'm making it as a group. So I'm first of all updating the approval comments to make it the content of the text input that we have just introduced. So I'm going to say text input 1 dot text. This is gonna take the text of the content of the textbooks and put it inside the approval comment field in the data source. And also I'm going to update the approval status to make it, in this case, as approved. Okay, then I'm going to close this and I'm going to close the batch command, and I'm going to put a semicolon to identify that this is what I have done. So that's it. This is the command that allows me to update the records and state it as approved. After that, I'm going also to put another command to notify the users that your action has been successful. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the same command that we have used previously, which is notify. So I'm going to say that I want approved your or the request approved, and also I'm going to say that this is a success message, and I'm going to make it stay for 2000 milliseconds, which is 2 seconds actually. And yeah, that's it. And I'm going to do the same thing for the reject button, but in this case I'm going to change everything from approved to rejected. So you can just drop this here to make the area a little bit more convenient to write on it. So I'm going to change the approval status to rejected, and I'm going to change the notify message to rejected as well. And yes, that's it. So let's go ahead and run our application and try it. So as you can see, these are the data that I can just, by clicking on any of these items, you can see that it's being changed right away. And I'm going to say here that okay, approved. Okay, and I'm going to click on the approve button. Okay, as you see, once I approved it, it's not showing here anymore on the left side gallery, because it's now not matching the logic or the logical test that we have built our filter based on it. So as you remember, we have put a test to make sure that to show only the items that are equal to submitted only. So if anything is not equal to submitted, is not going to be shown here. So let's go ahead and approve another one. So I'm selecting let's say this one, and in this case I'm going to say rejected, and I'm going to click on reject. As you can see, again, that particular item is not showing in my application anymore, in my left side gallery anymore. So let's go ahead and select another one here, and I'm also going to reject, for example. Please change the date, for instance, and I'm going to click on the reject. As you can see, it's rejected and it's showing the message correctly. So now if we go back to our SharePoint list and refresh it out, you will find that whatever changes that we have done here, it's reflected right away here. So as you can see, the approval comments here, this one rejected, and this is the rejection reason, and here the approved and the rejected. Also we have the so we have done this for 3 items, and three items are updated here. So if we go ahead and let's close this one. So this is the application that we have. I think this one we need to update it. Yeah, that's it. So it's ready. So if we do a full test for our application, here is it. This is our application. Submit a new request is going to be from here. going back and view my approval, my pending approval. Also, I think we need to update this. So here we're gonna mention navigate to request approval, and we're gonna tell it that it's transition cover, and yeah, that's it. So if we run our application now and click in on this, you are seeing a list of all of our pending approval. Let's select this one and approve, and yeah, that's it. As you can see, I have showed you this quick demo on how you can do a quick vacation request application. It's a very simple, straightforward application. We have done it in less than 1 hour. Definitely there are many things that you can change. You can like make it more user friendly. You can enhance the look and feel. You can change the some of the logic. You can include like any other approval steps. Also, I think one of the most useful things to do in this is to utilize the feature of Microsoft Power Platform to send email notification whenever any change is happening. So this is like a starter, so we can start from here, and I think the possibilities in Power Apps is unlimited, so it's limited only by your imagination. So I really advise everybody, so you can go ahead and use the trial version and get your hands dirty on it and see the possibilities. As I told you, it's a very powerful tool and it doesn't require that much of an IT experience. So that's it for my presentation today. Hope you really enjoyed it, and absolutely I want you to know that we are ready for any questions that you may have. You can address them to us on the link below, and thank you very much for your time. Bye bye.